Hello and welcome to It's the Rant Man with your host from the poor side of town. It's me. I'm back for now, I guess. And welcome to Spy Central. What do I mean by Spy Central? Well, let me play an audio clip for you, and I think you'll get the gist of it.
Privacy's been dead for 30 years because we can't risk it. Only privacy that's left is the inside of your head, and maybe that's enough.
Yes, we're coming to quite some curious times nowadays where only privacy is in your head, and with the advent of new technology, that will probably be gone soon. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, I hope you're not living under a rock, that'd be worse than anything, but unless you've been living under a rock, then you know about our president and the ever increase of wiretapping and spying on the American people. Yes. Unfortunately, those of us who cast our ballots for Mr. Obama for a second term might as well wipe our rear ends with our ballot. From what I hear, not just from what I hear, but from what I've read, a lot of what Obama has done is pretty much qualified as, at least, to some pundits out there, as George Bush on steroids. Now imagine that, George Bush on steroids. I mean, we thought that George Bush was a horrible president. Imagine him on steroids. That sadly, that's the truth. I mean, as a human being, as a lib, I don't know if I guess socially, I still consider myself a lib, but politically, I'm an independent. I don't want anything else to do with the Democratic Party. I mean, there's just a few people out there who are calling themselves Democrats. That actually deserve to bear the title, because like Elizabeth Warren and Alan Grayson, almost I call him Dick Grayson, but people like that, and Anthony Weiner, although I've been hearing some stuff about him too. But I mean, my point being is that it's one of those things where we voted for change, and I know a lot of people have said this before me, but we voted for change and we got none. It's gotten worse than, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, this may sound naive, but I'll be honest with you. I thought back in, say, 2005, I thought it couldn't, 2006, I thought it couldn't get worse than George W. Bush. I was like, oh my God, so how much do we have left? 2 years of this crap, and we're done? Oh, thank goodness. It's gotten worse. It takes my breath away. how bad it's gotten under this guy. the supposed change guy, and it's I have to agree with um what's his name? God, I was see. This is what happens when you do things off the cuff. Is you forget a lot of things. There was there was this gentleman who I was watching on YouTube. He was being interviewed for a show called Real News, where he was talking about how all these candidates are just brand names. I have to agree. I mean, they're nothing but brand names. They pretty much they don't stand for what they say they stand. They just brand X and brand Y. But the thing is, so it's just made by the same manufacturer, unfortunately. And like I was saying, that Obama is just doing what George Bush was doing, but worse. I mean, with all of this talk about investigating people and just pretty much taking the so-called metadata, while they're saying, well, we're not listening to it's how can you believe these people? How can you believe them when they've been, when they've been like arresting whistleblowers, when they've been punishing people who expose the truth after, after saying that, back in 2007 that he wasn't going to take those abuses of civil rights, and he turns around and does a 180. I mean, how can you how can you believe the Obama administration, when they've been hiding so much from us? Like we're stupid. Like we shouldn't be allowed to know what our government is doing because national security and the enemy. It's just the same crap that George Bush pushed. If you're not with us, you're for Al Qaeda. It's that kind of crap. It just irritates the hell out of me. Also, I want to say that I'm actually trying to set things up here so that I can take calls. I don't think I'm ready to take calls right now, but soon enough. I've been trying to follow some tutorial on setting up Skype so that you can function with Spreaker through a pretty cool piece of software called Virtual Cables. Basically, well, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing and explain, but look it up. But it basically, you download the software. The software, at least the trial version, is free, and it's you're limited to only three virtual cables, which is more than you need, anyways. But look it up. It's you can look it up through Google or right here through Spreaker. I think the article is called It's from the Spreaker Help Center. How to use Skype with Spreaker, and I mean it's an awesome thing to do when you want to have people um, call you and you can have actual guests, because with and I understand it's kind of like almost the same in some ways with this and Blog Talk Radio, where you're limited to half an hour. But the cool thing with Spreaker is that you're limited to half an hour before you have to take a commercial break, and then after you take a commercial break, you can do another half an hour. And with Blog Talk Radio, you can't. You'd have to set up another half an hour, to do your thing, and it's kind of hard, especially if you get into a conversation with someone on the radio, and you have to cut them, or you have to just stop because you have to end the show because it's only half an hour. So I'm gonna be doing that. Right, like I said, right now I can't take phone calls, unfortunately, because it's one of those things where, well, I can't take phone calls because I didn't set this show up to take phone calls. But if you look at the title of this, I'm gonna do a part 2. I don't know when, but soon enough I'm gonna do a part 2, and then part 2 I will be testing the phone call. Whole phone call thing, so that I can speak to people, because it's. I'll be honest. I'll admit it. It's just kind of boring to have just one person talking, and plus it's hard. When you have somebody talking, and you don't have things planned as I probably should. So you end up rambling, and it's much better when you engage with someone, through Skype, and engage in a conversation, so that both more than one point is able to be heard. So I'm going to take a short break to get something to drink, and I'm going to play you a clip. It's very significant also of what's going on in this country. It's a clip from, and I use these a lot too. It's a clip from They Live, the 1988 movie, which, by the way, I kind of read that they're trying to make a remake of it. I don't know what that. I mean, it's unless it's a true remake in every sense of the word. It's one of those things where, what's the point? So let me play this clip. It's kind of significant of what's going on in this country. I'm sure you'll know what I mean when I play it, and you listen to it. So keep it here on The Rat Man.
The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. They have created a repressive society, and we are their unwitting accomplices. Their intention to rule rests with the annihilation of consciousness. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. Please understand, they are safe as long as they are not discovered. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
They're pulling the water out of the sand like sponges.
They are dismantling the sleeping middle class. More and more people are becoming poor. We are their cattle. We are being bred for slavery. The revolution.
So that was a clip from They Live, and well, I got a few more clips to go here. Trying to try to get them all in the next 14 minutes, but um, don't get me wrong. I don't want to make this clip central show, but it kind of gets to the point of what I'm trying to convey is this is what this country is becoming. I mean, it's one of my actually three of my favorite movies when it comes to those open your eyes kind of movies. The so close to life nowadays that's scary. Three of my favorite movies that are close to that, and I know it's kind of silly because it's well, you'll know what I mean when I tell you. One of them is, of course, They Live, and I know that there's no aliens, dressed as businessmen controlling the world, but it's a movie that went beyond, while Carpenter painted the bad guys as aliens. The reality is that it's the significance of that went beyond. It went beyond just the whole portrayal of aliens as the bad guys. It pretty much means it's corporate greed and big business. It's I mean maybe I'm interpreting it, but that's what I get, and that's what a lot of people get. That the true significance of this movie was corporate power and corporate greed, and how they're consuming us, the poor and the middle class, and while they set things up to have it their way. I'm going to take another short break, and I apologize, but I'm going to take another short break, and I'm going to play you another clip, which it's also from They Live. Then I'm going to bring up some more subjects related, and then I'm going to tell you what the other movies significant to this era and this time we're living in that are my favorites. So I'll be right back.
Their mouths are full of bitterness and curses, and in their paths, nothing but ruin and misery, and the fear of God is not before their eyes. They have taken the hearts and minds of our leaders. They have recruited the rich and the powerful, and they have blinded us to the truth. Our human spirit is corrupted. Why do we worship greed? Because outside the limit of our sight, feeding off us, perched on top of us from birth to death, are our owners. Our owners. They have us. They control us. They are our masters. Wake up. They're all about you, all around you.
All right, I'm back. Even though I'm not really religious, at least, I've said it before here, I'm not a Christian, I'm pagan. But it's kind of, putting aside the whole religious thing, the message is clear. From the moment, at least, during this time and in this period in time, from the moment you're born to when you grow up. If you've grown up, say the last 15, or let's make a wider, broader range. If you've grown up in the last 20 years, you'd probably be about close to 21 right now. It's not so much because things were more prosperous back, before 2000. It's from then on that things started going downhill. And don't get me wrong, these things have, our liberties have been eroded for years now, slowly, layer by layer, layer by layer. It's been, at least in the past 13 years, that it has increased in speed. I mean, ever since, from what I can count, ever since 9/11, it seems that they've got, they have found justification after justification to just keep pounding away, eroding freedoms, eroding rights. And I know it sounds, a lot of people are going to think, well, it sounds paranoid, it sounds crazy. But, if you keep up with alternative news, and if you keep up with other sources besides the mainstream media, which, I mean, I'm just going to echo what everybody's been saying, and even the crazies like Alex Jones and stuff, and the other people who are less insane. You can't put your trust on the corporate media. I mean, granted, I will watch television news every now and then, mostly local. But, I watched, the way I watched TV is not the same as the way I watched it years ago. I watch TV even though I hear what they're saying, I analyze it in my mind to see if what they're saying is just spit and BS. Especially when it's a big, story. Granted, I'm not, one of these people that said that victims of Sandy Hook and the parents of Sandy Hook were a bunch of crisis actors. I'm not gonna go that far because it's totally ridiculous. On the other hand, I look at things, the way I take things in, I take them with a grain of salt, as they say, because it's just one of those things where, you've got to, you can't just take the word for it 100%. You've got to analyze everything the news media, people are saying and see if it matches up with reality. So anyways, so yeah, I'm going to have part 2 of this. We're going to try and explore more what the Obama administration is doing, and I'm telling you, it's getting ridiculous. Right now, I signed up for Jesse Ventura's blog. If there's anyone who, it's kind of hard to put your trust on anyone nowadays. And I say this because it's to me it's the whole truth. It's who can you trust nowadays? I mean, let's keep it real. Who can you trust nowadays? From the political spectrum, or in general. I think Ventura is one of those people you can trust because in and out of politics, he's been no BS. He says what he means and he means what he says, especially, if anybody remembers when he was governor of Minnesota, and he had an interview on Playboy. I mean, he doesn't give a rat's behind what you think of him. So I'm totally, fully in support of him. And if he, and at least from my end, I'll do whatever I can to get him, here in Arizona on the Arizona ticket. Um, if he decides to go ahead with running for president, and I do hope he runs for president because we need some kind of change. Now, before I leave you, I'm going to play a clip from one of my other favorite movies. I'm pretty sure you recognize this clip. It's very popular, very famous. You hear it a lot on, everywhere there's discussion of rights and freedom and all this stuff. So let me go ahead and play this clip, and then I'll wrap up. So
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!
If you recognize the clip but don't know which movie it came from a movie called Network. And it's one of the more popular clips, especially nowadays. I mean, it's granted, it's been popular for quite a while, ever since the Bush administration. But it's become significantly popular now with everything that's happening, and the corporations, bending us over, and well, you can imagine. So that's one of my favorite movies, and especially for that. And that's how things are becoming. People are just saying, leave us the hell alone. So all right, so let me wrap up. This has been part 1 of a part 2 series. I'm going to post the second part hopefully soon, and hopefully also I'll be able to take calls from Skype, and it's going to be it's on Skype. You'll be able to find me, not too hard to. It's the Rant Man at Skype. So next show, call, and hopefully we'll be able to make this happen. So